If you're a developer and think of being a database, think about what happens when your application becomes more successful. My name is Wei Hu. I'm a Senior Vice President of Product Development at Oracle Database, and I manage the team that builds a substantial part of our flagship database product. If you have data, you have to think about how do I store this data? And that's where databases come in. It turns out that there are two interesting approaches on how do you store data, right? One approach sounds seemingly obvious, which is that I store different data in different kinds of databases. So for example, if my application uses graph data, I use a graph database for that. And if my data has text data, I'm going to go and get a separate text database, and so forth and so forth. So this is called the heterogeneous approach, and that winds up with lots and lots of specialized databases. And that's great to get started, but that leads you inevitably into a problem when your application gets complicated. Because as you have graph data, as you have text data, as you have relational data, and so forth, you have more and more databases to manage. And it gets to be a mess. Okay, plain simple. So it's easy to start with, but it gets to be very, very painful. And if you're imagining your application is going to be very successful, it's going to do more and more things, and it's just going to do more and more complexity, and it's just going to just drag you way down. The second approach is what's called a converged approach. A converged approach is something that's supported by, what I call full-featured databases like Oracle, which can actually support all these data types in one database. So, for example, the Oracle database is well known for supporting relational data. But a lot of people don't know that it supports JSON, it supports documents, it supports graph, it even supports machine learning, right? And blockchain and so forth. So an Oracle database is a converged database because it supports all these types. That means if you use Oracle database, you can use the same database for an application that uses graph data, that uses relational data, that stores JSON documents and so forth, and it's just one database. The most important analogy I would draw is the history of the development of the smartphone. Before there were smartphones, there were dedicated devices. There's the cell phone that you carry in your hand, and then there's the GPS unit that you may carry in your hand, it's stored in your car. Then there may be a PDA that stores your calendar, and then you have a camera. So all these devices, right, in our lives. Also an MP3 player. But today, no one does that, right? You all carry a smartphone that takes your camera, that has the address book, and so forth, right? And the smartphone has basically killed off everything else, right? And so that's why I believe that the converged database approach is really the smartphone of data. And that's how things will be and should be done. So today, if your application is doing any data management stuff, you're faced with a choice. A very popular choice is proposed by cloud companies like Amazon and so forth, which proposes a bunch of specialized databases. Specialized databases for relational data, non-relational data, key value store, graph, JSON, and so forth, right? So there's a massive portfolio of databases, and their proposal is that your application, for each kind of data type you use a specialized database. And this has a hidden cost, which is that if your application uses multiple data types, you're going to have to move data between databases, right? So if you want to do a graph analytics, for example, you have to move your data from your relational data into the graph data database, do analytics, and then bring it back somewhere else. So you focus a lot on moving data around and distributed execution and so forth. So it's just a lot of work, right? And you can imagine in a large application that's to be successful, there are lots of people working on this data, and that this tax is paid by everybody. The alternative is to use a converged database, like what Oracle does, and that's Oracle's strategy, which is that we bring all this functionality into a common database engine so it can access all these features from one database, right? So the Oracle database supports relational data, supports JSON data, key value, machine learning, graph, text, and so forth. And so this allows very interesting synergies, such that you can essentially bring the analysis to the data instead of bringing the data to the different analysis. So to analyze the same data, I can use graph analysis on the data. I can run machine learning on it, right? I can look at it as a JSON document. I can access a relational document, all from the same data, right? I don't have to move the data around, right? And of course, it's in the same database engine that is Oracle, and so you get all the availability, all the scalability that comes for free. Right? So this drastically reduces the overhead of managing multiple databases, and it makes just life much simpler. And furthermore, the fact that all this data is together gives you synergies, right? Because now it's much easier to look at the data using multiple analytic methods. And today, that is a way to get more value from your data. If you are managing multiple development teams, you will probably get requests to buy databases. And there are vendors who are happy to sell you lots and lots of different databases. Okay, there are databases for graph, there are databases for text, databases for whatever, right? If I invent a new widget type, there will be a database for widgets. That is a bad path to follow, okay? Because if you're a major company, you probably already have a relational database such as the Oracle database. Now, did you know that Oracle already supports graph, JSON, machine learning, text, and so forth in the same database along with relational data, and you already have it, right? So instead of going out and buying another database for which you have to train staff, for which you have to pay additional license fees, just use the Oracle database you already have that you already pay for, because you can use it for all this functionality. And furthermore, it's better too, because you can combine all these features with your existing data. You get the same protection, same security, same availability, same scalability that you get with your data. Don't buy the GPS, buy the smartphone, right? And you already own the smartphone, which is Oracle. So use it. Don't try that. Just don't incur overhead of heavy additional stuff.
Thanks for watching the video. If you want to learn more, click on one of these. Yeah, here we go. You clicked, right? Okay.